Hey, what's up? Todd Valentine here in Montreal, Quebec, and I want to talk to you today about the right and the wrong forms of entitlement. We talk a lot in the community about being entitled, believing you're enough, going after what you want, not backing down, not taking the first excuse to quit, those kind of things, right? You even talk about maybe doing things that are a little bit like not within the social norm because if you do them the right way, you can get good results from them. And because if you're bringing enough value to the table, it's okay to go through a little bit of rudeness to show someone the value you're offering. So these are lessons a lot of guys need to learn because most guys, I've found, are more on the timid side, they kind of are afraid to take risks, they don't play to win, they're playing too safe, and that's their big problem. However, recently I've been introduced to a new form of entitlement, and I call this the negative form of entitlement. This is the form of entitlement where you are lacking in empathy, treating people as objects, or expecting to get something just because you showed up without earning it. You're not trying to exchange value, you're just asking for something as a handout, or you're asking for something as a because I asked for it, because I'm the squeaky wheel kind of a thing. For example, when people watch a video and stand in your light, that would be the wrong form of, thank you guys, that would be the wrong form of entitlement, as an example. It's very interesting to me, the level of entitlement people can have when they're put in a certain role, and also the lack of empathy people can have towards other people and how they can sort of objectify them. And so I want to talk about that phenomenon in a little bit more depth. Now, to clarify, 99% of people that come up to me on the street or that come to my events or that I talk to about game or that recognize me, whatever, are amazing. And actually a lot of you guys are inspirational and teach me tons and tons of lessons, and I really appreciate it and I really value. So don't think that I'm being ungrateful here. What I'm talking about here are those 1% of totally egregious cases that just ruin it for everybody. So here is a brief smattering of the over-entitled behavior I've experienced personally over the last 6 months to a year. I had a guy, I was out in a club talking to a girl, and he came up to me and literally screamed at me for not having added him on Facebook. Mind you, this is someone I'd never met in my entire life. Example number 2. I am giving a speech. I'm actually giving a 10-hour speech called Hot Seat. And in order to give this speech and not lose my voice, I have a pitcher of water and a glass that I can drink from during the speech so I don't have to, stop the speech in order to salvage my voice. So I'm going in the front row of Hot Seat, stands up in the middle of Hot Seat. Instead of just getting water from the back of the room where we've kindly provided it for him, he stands up, takes the water off my desk, and pours my water into his glass. So I'm now left without water and stranded in the front of the room, losing my voice. Situation number 3. I'm in the middle of Hot Seat again. This is in a different Hot Seat. And somebody asked a question that is way off topic. And I've just finished telling the room that we need to get going. We can't take a lot of off-topic questions. I'll answer them at the end. I'll try to get to all of them. He asks an off-topic question. Meanwhile, this is about the 15th question he's asked during Hot Seat. So I'm like, that's off topic. I'll take it at the end. I will answer it, but I really have to get going. He's like, no. I'm like, excuse me? He says, no, you need to answer my question. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's about 40 other people in this room and that question isn't applicable to them. I am gonna try and get to it out of, the fact that I'm trying to help you out, but we need to get on with this. I need to get the videos done or we're not gonna have time for everything. He's like, no, I demand that you answer my question. And I actually was forced to tell him that he either needed to shut up or he had to leave the room at that point because, again, he's basically placing his interests over the entire program and 40 other people's interests very blatantly and very rudely. Next example, I've had a student yell and scream at me and physically pull me, physically drag me out of a set when I'm winging with other students because he felt that he wasn't getting enough attention at that exact moment. Meanwhile, I'd given him probably twice as much attention as the other students because he'd been so demanding the rest of boot camp. I eventually ended up kicking him off of boot camp. Lastly, and this one is extremely common, is I will get these lengthy emails from people asking me to go over their 200 pages of field reports or to analyze 4 hours of their unedited infield footage and tell me what their sticking points are in game. And, I always go and check because I've had a lot of students, just out of courtesy. I check and see if, maybe they're a former student of mine that, from a long time ago that maybe isn't on the top of my memory. And probably 80 to 90% of these people, I can't find any record of them having any history with the company. So they just are basically saying, will you please spend 20 hours of your life going over my game for free? Which, I'm a pretty charitable person. I'll put a lot out for free, but I don't have that kind of time, guys. I'm really sorry. So how can we resolve these different types of entitlement, and what really is the difference between the two? Well, I think the biggest thing is it comes down to worldview. It comes down to a worldview of, do you believe in earning something and getting it because you've earned it? Or do you believe in getting something because it's demanded or getting something because you're a squeaky wheel? And then the second part of the worldview is, do you view people as objects to be gotten things from, or do you view them as animate individuals who have their own feelings and need to be dealt with on an individual basis and in a way that is sort of like understanding of those feelings? Those are the two big mistakes that lead to this negatively entitled behavior. And do be clear, this negatively entitled behavior, it's not just annoying for the people receiving it, it actually will hurt you. What will happen is sometimes you will get your way by being entitled, because sometimes people will just give in to you, or they'll just let it go because it's the easier thing to deal with. But in terms of long-term relationships, you're not going to have a lot of those. They're going to get cut off because you've just become so annoying to deal with. And even on a short-term basis, you won't get a lot of people blowing up at you, because most people will just be like, fuck it, it's not worth it. But when you do get those blow-ups, they will be harsh and they will be negative. So what causes this negatively entitled behavior, and where does it come from? Well, I think there are a few different sort of attitudes and philosophies that contribute to it. Things where people aren't viewing the world in quite the right or most effective way for dealing with people. Firstly, what you should realize is nobody owes you anything. All right, everybody is pretty much in their own world. They're kind of out for themselves. Maybe there's a few other loved ones they're taking care of, but if you're an outsider to that, they don't owe you anything. You're not their top priority. They are their own top priority. And if you assume that they should treat you as their top priority, they're going to be very offended by that, and they're probably not going to respond very well to it. Second thing you need to understand is no matter how cool you are, in the other person's eyes, you're only as cool as you've shown them. So you could be the coolest person in the world, but to a total stranger who's never met you, you're just a random person on the street. So in terms of theory of social capital I talk about a lot, your social capital is zero. You haven't done anything for them, you haven't proven anything to them, so they treat you as the same as everyone else, regardless of how cool you are. If you built up a relationship, you've had good times together, done some things for them, they've seen that you have talent, potential, ability, drive, whatever it is they value, then in that case, then they should, out of their own intelligence, treat you as better than the average person, or be more willing to do things for you or give you things. But until you've proven it, that's not the case, right? It's kind of like if a sports team goes out for a particular game and they're the better team, they have the more talented players, but they just refuse to play defense. Like, we're the better team, we're just not going to work hard this game. They'll probably get their asses handed to them, right? You're only as good as you actually show. You're not good just by showing up. The last two understandings have to deal with how you actually view other people. First thing is, people are not objects, all right? They're not just a resource to be drawn upon. They have feelings, they have emotions, and if you cater to those emotions, they're going to give a lot. If you are negative to those emotions, they're going to give nothing, and in fact, they may even become spiteful or vengeful and go out of their way to hurt you. Okay, so understand that people are not an inanimate resource. They're not just a source of take. The more you give to them, the more you will actually be able to get from them in the long term, and you'll get it willingly as opposed to by force. Lastly, understand that someone's relation to you is not the same as your relation to them necessarily. A great example of this is, say that you're in class and you have that girl that you have a crush on, and you've crushed on her from afar, you've never talked to her, you have no actual interaction with her, and then she starts going out with some other guy. Now, you may be all jealous and butthurt and upset about this, and you may feel that it's wrong, or that she's like doing something like evil to you by being with him or whatever. It's not the case. She doesn't even know you exist, and you have no right to have her know you exist because you have no relationship. So your relationship to her is not the same as her relationship to you. Similarly to someone you know through YouTube or some other celebrity, just because they've had an influence on your life doesn't mean you've had the same influence on theirs. And that's not to say that there's anything wrong with that, but just don't go in and assume some kind of relationship that doesn't already exist. Go in, offer value, and there's no reason you can't create a good relationship. There's no reason you shouldn't be entitled to believe that you have enough to bring to the table. But the thing is, you have to offer value, you have to bring something to the table. If you just go in trying to get something for nothing, people are not going to like you for that, okay? But if you do help enough other people get what they want, you can have in life anything you want.